This root vegetable soup is super easy to make, really hearty and warming, and perfect for a cold winter day. It comes together in under an hour, and it's so richly flavored that you would never believe it's actually vegan. And if you're new here, I'm Maggie. This is No Frills Kitchen, where I teach you how to cook with confidence with nothing fancy required. The first step is to roast your vegetables. Roasting develops some more complex flavors in the vegetables and also brings out the natural sweetness in the turnips and parsnips, which is something that you're just not going to get if you simply boil everything in the soup. Simply peel and cut some potatoes, parsnips, and turnips into bite-sized pieces, and then toss them in a bit of olive oil and a generous amount of salt and pepper. Arrange them on a parchment-lined baking sheet and then move them to a 220C 425F oven and roast until browned and tender, about 30 minutes. While the veggies are roasting, you can get together the rest of your soup. We'll start by prepping our ingredients. First off, let's slice our leek. Leeks have a lot of dirt in between the layers, so make sure to wash it thoroughly after slicing in half before cutting it more. Then peel and finely dice a carrot, and also finely dice a rib of celery. You'll also need to mince a couple of cloves of garlic, and then finely chop some fresh sage and thyme. Now it's time to move to the stovetop. Start with sauteing your carrot, celery, and leek. As in lots of my other recipes, such as my pasta fagioli, I recommend cooking these until they're beginning to brown and take on lots of flavor. This will take up to 15 minutes. Just stir occasionally to ensure that nothing is burning, but it's not too active during this time. After your veggies reach their desired stage, add in the minced garlic, the chopped fresh thyme and sage, and some white miso paste for a bit of salty complexity. Stir this to combine and cook until just fragrant. Then, to thicken the soup a bit, sprinkle over a touch of flour and cook that for a few more minutes, stirring constantly. Now, pour over some vegetable stock and a bit of soy sauce to up the umami of the soup. Bring the soup to a simmer before adding in your roasted root vegetables. Then allow everything to simmer together for about 10 minutes. After this time, swirl in a bit of tahini and some sherry vinegar. The tahini adds a delightful nuttiness and a nice creamy quality to the soup. Once you've stirred in the tahini and vinegar, add some chopped greens that you've removed from the stems. The recipe linked in the description calls for chard, but I am using kale here because the chard at the supermarket looked really poor. Whatever greens you do use, add a splash of color and a nice textural difference to the finished soup. Just allow the greens to wilt and turn tender. This should only take a minute or two. Now your soup is ready to serve. And if you liked this recipe, make sure to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss my next videos. Enjoy!